mga hindi ako kilala, parang, "Ba't siya tumatawa? Oh, shit." That paranoia sometimes we play around as kids, we play around with that paranoia na parang, it must mean something. Ba't siya nakatawa? What's coming? Oh, no. What is alam mo yun, yung adult way of doing that these days is like, "Oh, no, there's a new strain of sipon." Kawawa naman yung mga naka-cancel out na Rezbt-S Podcast number 72. Welcome to the show. This is a listening podcast experience with me, Rez Toledo. And I made a show recently. There's been like a pandemic recently. Just reminding a listener. And maybe I'll talk about this episode a little more about transformation, a little more about business, and parang being competitive. These are the things that have been in my head recently. Maybe I'll also talk about processes and the usual stuff. The usual stuff is that I'm creating a podcast show for myself and for my listeners. Welcome to the Rezbt-S Podcast. Ginagandahan ko yung boses ko para medyo soothing, medyo not as much kind of like all that content na parang inuusig yung emotional and then wala naman palang i-offer na solution. I'm not like that. I kind of have a solution to at least maybe something that you haven't thought of. Once maisip mo na, it's creating a new path of way of thinking. And I've been talking about my monologues because I do enjoy the monologuing part. I do enjoy the recording of parang scalping of the way other people say about this is like scalping the brain, the parang for the audio listeners, I'm doing a parang scalpel motion here with my hands. Parang scalping the brain, the for the lack of a better term, the shit in the brain, diba? The yung dumi sa utak, sa mindset, na pwede naman palang linisin yung, yung pag-iisip natin. In any case, like, hindi naman I speak to any, actually, type of person. Hindi ako namimili, hindi rin ako namimilit. You could be mahirap, mayaman, matanda, bata. And if you like this content, if you like resonating with me, if you like sort of having like a um, consumer mind in the sense that you're actually consuming long format stuff, meaning mahaba, and also kasama na dun yung parang trying to understand what other people say, what other people report on, or what other people have a language for. So kunyari, medyo nababagayan mo yung language na to. If you're one of the few, or one of the many, that yung ginagawa kasi ng iba, diba, parang they detect sort of, they assume a lot about, a lot of people assume a lot about things, and that sort of forms their how they play a role in the system. So kunyari, they found out, or you found out that I play a role in the system. My identity is to be like open and to be a public intellectual and to be like someone could discuss anything under the sky. At least I tried, diba? I'm still young in the scene. I'm still not as much behind the scenes. I'm not trying to hide almost anything now. But like, uh, I still have this craving. I guess I'll start with this. I still have this craving to start with purpose. Yun nga, yung purpose na para naman at least hindi ko outright niloloko yung, or di ko outright nakikipaglokohan lang with the listener. It's something that you could be a stakeholder of, or like it's something that I want to convince someone, but I want to convince me, even myself, diba, that I'm doing something that is good for the long run. I'm sharing this because, diba, parang as a content creator, there's a lot of content. I think I ended with that last episode. There's a lot of content that runs even when I was a focusing musician, and I had a career in my music in my earlier days, or diba, parang there's a lot of content. Mas magaling maggitara yung ganito, mas magaling mag-fingering yung isang tao, or mas mukha siyang mayaman, or mas maganda yung bahay niya. We're all filled with that at some point. But, sometimes it's also fair game when you can create your own show. It's a show, diba? Parang we all play a part, diba? Parang, and it depends in our ability to, alam mo yun, parang to imagine, are we part of, am I seated somewhere on the right seat? Diba? Am I the technician? Am I the producer? Am I the ganyan? That's in an entertainment sense. If you can detect the lack of frustration in my voice, it's just really, talagang recording has been an easy way for me to, what's the word? Parang naisip ko sino ibang tao, parang napakahirap intindihan ng sinasabi ko sa podcasts because pang Englishero, pang ganyan, diba? Parang the way a lot of even people in my clan react to me is that yung ginagawa niya para lang yan sa kanya, because people are greedy, diba? There's greed that exists in people. They're like, sometimes it's easier to assume that someone is bad, someone is like faulty, parang ganun, and then we get trapped in this. I'm just saying of what we are in the past, diba? Parang we get trapped in this cancel culture na tinatawag, na parang we don't accept na parang everyone has to be perfect, diba? Everyone has to be like, we don't forgive, we don't like, if something becomes dangerous, para bang isabi natin, ay hindi pa ako pwede dyan, dito lang muna ako sa ano. But if you're realizing already what I'm trying to get at, it's really that dangerous, not, but non-agenda, yung walang agenda na way of listening or way of interacting with people. As for me, in the monologic series, it's a way of internalizing what I really have inside, or in a way saying, having an inner engineering experience, yung parang pinapasok ko lang yung sarili ko at kung ano yung pwede kong sabihin about the base Tagalog theory or my interests. Kung kunyari, malaman mo na as you listen, meron pala tayong self-interest. It's my way of na pagpapakilala sa sarili ko, or in a way also, kunyari, if I'm speaking as my 4-year-old self, di ba, parang I'm blabbering and dumadaldal ako in front of the camera, in front of a mic, to make sure na in the future, in 20 or 30 years, I could go back. Diba? Or not kahit na hindi nga, kahit di na nga 30 years or 20 years. I mean, in just a few weeks, diba, I could totally review what I'm all about on this date. Parang ganyan. Because, the podcasts thing is really like that for me. Na if ever ma-bad trip ako, for example, let's say ma-food poison ako or something, or parang I lose my way. Diba? There's this saying, the more that you lose your way, the more that you sort of find yourself. Diba? So losing your way is part of it. Parang remembering that I'm doing this because I'm okay with being lost. I'm okay with with struggling with, alam mo yun, yung positivity ba of being okay despite the struggle inside. I think that's a good feeling actually to tackle, especially if you're growing up as a man, especially if you're growing up as like someone of a good listener, diba? Parang, or lalaki ka mag-isip, diba? Kung babae ka, lalaki ka mag-isip, and you're kind of into that vibe, okay lang naman talaga yung ganun, diba? And that's even a value for a lot of people, diba? That's a good way of experiencing what could be of value to your father, to your mother. Diba, dyan naman tayo lahat na lagi nagsisimula sa PG, sa parental guidance way of expressing things. And although I'm not giving up sort of the visuals here, alam mo yun, the common parang sagot agad, hindi ko agad nilalagay sa ganun. I'm really like struggling to come up with topics. I'm really struggling. The struggle of the struggle of being a content creator is also like being a scientist. If I'm not creating better questions, if I'm not using myself to putting myself in an environment na makakapagtanong ako or make it easier for me to create content, then I'm creating uh, I guess a stronger case. And that's okay. That's okay for me to create a stronger case for my way of speaking because yeah, yung sasabi ko na nga na language is like it just comes and goes sometimes, man. It like you have to breathe with it. And I've been experiencing this recently yung para bang breath of fresh air or like ginhawa ba of just ginhawa yung of just accepting na ito na yung content ko. Ito na yung content ko. I remember a lot of kids coming up to me when I became a successful musician or was becoming a successful businessman na parang when you're young you can't express it that way. Parang paano ginagawa yan or why do you do that or paano mo ginagawa yung ganyang bagay or what keeps you going, diba? Parang minsan napakahirap itanong nun sa ibang tao kasi like para bang when we ask someone of that, if we wanna be smart about it, hindi naman natin hindi naman natin gustong tawag sa ganun. Ibanggain agad yung chismis about that person, diba? And the solution to that is just to accept, the characters that are part of you. Kanina lang, I was talking to my father and then sabi niya, nag-drop siya. Kasi kung mag-usap kami ngayon ng tatay ko, parang medyo we're simulating a recording, like talagang nagbibigayan na there's a give or take. And in any relationship, not just a father-son relationship, magkasintahan, diba? As part of it or, you see it sa magkakapatid, brothers and sisters. Like, diba, you have to have some sort of system of give and take. Diba? Kahit simple lang, kahit just signals, kahit visuals lang, kahit like iwanan ka lang ng note or iwanan ka lang ng pagkain. In our culture, part of culture yan, yung coding in the pagkain, diba? Parang yun yung sinasabi ko na communication happens very much in non-verbal ways, diba? Na yung text mismo, hindi porket nabasa mo, yun na yung ibig sabihin nung diwa, yung diwa. Yung text may diwa yun, pero minsan hindi yun yung diwa nung salita. Kasi kailangan muna, minsan makita mo muna yung itsura, diba? Yung mga ibang tao, pag nakita na yung itsura ko, they are faulted to in a way that they assume na agad na, tapos na yung storya ng tao na to, diba? But for me, and if this could inspire someone, the listener, diba? For me, never tapos yung storya ko. I can't accept to be, and you can't accept whoever this is reaching, diba? Or to my listeners. Or yung we aspect, diba? We, tayo. We can't accept to be stereotype ourselves. Sa Tagalog, yun yung parang huwag kang maniwala sa sarili mong storya. Definitely, huwag kang magsinungaling sa sarili mo. Diba? Definitely, it's that also. Huwag kang magsinungaling sa sarili mo such that papaniwalaan mo yung sarili mong fantasy. It's not a fantasy. Especially if you're getting into podcasts. It's not a fantasy. It's either rated high or just super low. Mapapansin mo naman kung mahilig ba sila mag-edit, kung saang content ka na-attract. Kung na-attract ka sa ganitong content, na-attract ka because I talk about a lot of intellectual stuff. Once I get ramped up or sometimes I bring down sort of my people who are my heroes as well. I'm gonna admit, diba, who are my heroes as well. When we start to understand that, we are actually more encouraged to, diba, to be more productive, to be more sort of relaxed. Dito na mo na may enjoy na pag nagka-routine ka, for example. If naintindihan mo na rin yung routine, naintindihan mo na rin yung play, the game, or sinasanay mo na, sinasanay mo na hindi ko 'to gagawin, nagkaka-muscle memory ka na, sa pagkapindot mo nito or pinag Of course, I'm speaking in vague terms because I wanna reach a wide, audience. I'm not specifically talking about ML or Dota or Netflix. Alam mo yun, parang the game really is to achieve some sort of proficiency with this language. And yung language na nga to, yung tinatawag kong base Tagalog. So, sa pagbe-base Tagalog, kung mas marami pa akong makakausap, I'm bringing you this bit, diba? I'm bringing you this, ganito ako makipag-usap. I say a lot of English jargon, for example, jargon, kunyari yung tawag mo, diba? But actually, I'm just talking about productivity routines. It is what it is, what I talk about. But the excitement there is yung nafo-form ko yung lated na kung paano ko paglalaruan yung English tropes and Tagalog tropes and how to connect that because that is where the line is. Kumbaga sa yin-yang, nandun yung linya eh. Diba? May yin, may yang, may east, may west, may opposites. But it is in my power, I think, as someone who looks, nakikita ako mismo, ito yung linya. This is where you draw the line. And where we can draw the line sometimes, it's so sensitive. It's so relaxing to just look at it and observe it from that point. If you know what I mean, if you just know what I mean, diba? Yung just staying there and just looking at it, diba? Observing, gathering data, being excited for tomorrow, diba? When you have achieved patience, it's exactly that oh, it's in exactly those moments that we can rediscover ourselves, create more transformation, not just for you, for the people who you talk to. And immediately, it's almost automatic patulin na na nagigets ng mga tao matalino naman. Diba? Na parang, I know what you're talking about, bro. I know, like, I'm like that with anyone who's in digital format or diba? Or mismong kasama mo mismo or like nakatabi mo sa bangko or nakasama mo sa SM, for example, or sa trabaho, 'di ba? Parang kunyari, once you're not in the salesman mode, sales lady mode, kunyari, 'di ba? Hindi na kayo nagbebenta, you kind of actually find a friend, 'di ba? You have a friend in someone or like when you have someone you could talk to, someone you can rely on. Wala, you get deep eh. You get deep. There's boundaries. Ito yung sasabi sa akin ng mga kaibigan ko in our last sort of trio podcast na there's some things that you don't wanna touch yet. There's some things na for later on pa deeper experiences. And then there's some things na parang ready ka na to expose, diba? About yourself, about your politics, about your historicity, about your sometimes your religion, your business, maraming bagay tayo pwede pag-usapan. And it's this multiplicity that I really enjoy as a aspiring public intellectual. This multiplicity. Yung yung bang makahanap ka ng taong pwede mong makausap about anything. It's such a friendly experience. It's such like a mood breaker. Alam mo, mood breaker in a sense na hindi naman pala kailangan laging emotional, laging maarte. Minsan wala eh. Wala. Just find peace in being part of it. Part of something. Doesn't matter if it matters for today. It matters for today. Kung hindi nagmamatter siya today, kung today is medyo napangitan ka sa kanya, or kung today is medyo na kumapit ka lang, that is where I think we defeat the existential risks of overthinking things and diba, the value of not being too intense, diba? Although I enjoy that, to be honest, man. Because I'm an artist, like to reiterate yun lang naman yun sa akin to reiterate, to loop about yung dichotomies ba, yung dichotomies. Napakasarap ng usapan or contextualize from there because then you can get very conceptual about things. So when you're conceptual about things na, concept, ano ba yung concept, diba? Drawing. diba? Drawing, future-minded sort of idealism. Binabato mo yun sa future, and then you say you have to do these steps, diba? May measure, may rule. May rule in the very sense na it applies that you can't do this, but you can do only this, and you're left with the best decisions, diba? Kasi may measure that something that you na sinantabi mo para sa future. Something like that would reward you not today, but reward you in the time that you need it. So podcasting is like that. Having a podcast, having a library, having a knowledge base is like that. And this is why I create my podcasts for myself, for you guys, for the listeners, trying to grow the channel, trying to one by one influence anyone, right? About to have not a positivity movement. It's not about the positivity movement. It's really right now, I'm thinking it's really about one, being competitive, two, having access to transformational platforms, things that could inspire you to transform yourself and become the better version. And three, again, it's a language technology. It's something na napapakinggan, something that we can build upon slowly. Parang puno. Hey guys, this is Rez, the creator of Someday Dream, reminding you that a new Someday Dream music single called Two Lovers is still out on Spotify and other music listening platforms. You could go ahead and share and play that song for your loved ones and friends. Again, thank you for being part of Someday Dream all this time. Happy listening.
Muli na bang napatukso ng matingin sa'yo? Mali na bang mawalay ang mundo sa totoo? Muli nga bang bumabalik pag-ibig na husto? Naghahanap ng oras na mapalapit sa'yo. Huwag nang mag-alala, hindi na to tungkol sa masaya.
Again, thank you for being part of Someday Dream all this time. Happy listening. Marami akong pinapakinggan ngayon. I listen to doctors. I listen to movies. I listen to Netflix. I listen to my parents, of course. I listen to my brothers and sisters and digital people. And I listen to music. I listen to music. I listen to myself in the past. I can't listen to myself in the future. There's no way. I listen to details. Mga tao, napa-appreciate nila yung ginagawa ko because tumutula ako. Sometimes it's music to their ears. Sometimes they kind of wanna imagine that yung nababasa na nila is already music. Ibig sabihin, mga tao ngayon are so mutated that they say that they can listen with their eyes. Sabaw. But ako, I listen with my ears. I listen with my ears and double check with my eyes, for results. Kumbaga yung A plus B, yung dalawa na dun is, tenga number 1 is A, tenga number 2 is B. It should be able to provide me some sort of balance because ears are scientifically proven to provide a lot of balance, to provide a lot of, it makes you lock into a conversation if you're really listening. There's two types of listening. There's active listening, meaning you're actively focusing on the sound, the content, the the passage there, yung passage ng time. You're actively maybe visualizing the audio content, sa pagde-direct. Sabi nila na, you know, even the best directors cannot diba? Cannot make the best movies without great sound. So yung baby ng good production na movie is a good sound, diba? If it sounds nice, then that is it. That's basically where you're gonna come from. Dun ka galing, dun sa magandang tunog na yon. If it didn't sound so nice, tapos sabihin mo, ayoko nito, dun na lang ako sa bago. Sa bago, diba? Dun na lang ako sa marami, sa sa mga sheep. Sa mga sheep, diba? Dun tayo sa mga, kung ano yung na-appreciate naman na marami, dun na lang tayo, diba? And then, when I was saying that when I was younger, diba? Parang, it pays off to to accept na, sometimes you're part of the few. And then you're surviving, you're individualistic, you're like, you don't need anything else, diba? You don't need validation. That you can create it and you can find it from within yourself. Pag hindi mo mahanap sa sarili mo, baka may mali kang ginagawa. Baka may mali kang routine or di ka marunong magtrabaho or maraming rason, di ba? Maraming pwedeng mahal na mahal mo yung trabaho mo or something na nagkaganyan ako may niligawan ako na inamin niya na kasi nga growing up, ang alam niya lang mahalin is trabaho. Ang alam niya lang mahalin is to be able to provide something for her family. Even naman yung mga ganyan, so that's for me a missed opportunity in that sense na may lalaking naghahanap ng love, may babaeng hindi naghahanap. Pero once na dumapo na sa kanilang dalawa yon, marireveal yung circumstances or sitwasyon ng bawat tao, in this case dalawang tao lang, diba, magnobyo, na marireveal yung circumstances na hindi pala sila compatible or compatible pala sila sa ganitong paraan lang. But, lumalabas yun dun nga sa kwento na, realization, diba? Pag na-realize mo na, sometimes it's too late na pag na-realize mo na, it's too late na. For example, sometimes you realize na it's too late na to really umasa sa mga presidente. Minsan ganun. Too late na, diba? Parang, too late na umasa ka pa sa gobyerno. Too late na, diba? Wala na, part ka na ng sistema na nila eh. Kumbaga, yung existence mo is to work with that, government, for example. To work with that is part of your daily life. You being a taxpayer, being like someone that relies on information that is vouched for by the government. Mga ganyang bagay, diba? It's really, in my family, we argue it as not being woke, being a zombie, diba? Kasi 2021 na eh, diba? Parang there's so many ways to express yourself and transform yourself na kunyari, let's say, you got into sneakers, for example. Kumikita ka na ng malaki enough to be able to change what you look, change what you wear. You got into sneakers, you got into NBA, you got into like a culture, a real digital culture that could be like worn, that could be like idealized, that you can identify with, definitely. Na masarap para sa'yo, diba? Masarap, part ako nito, yung mga, this is how I felt when I started skating, that dami pa lang. I got open to, a visual, a plethora of, skaters, diba? Like, people who skate and have fun doing extreme sort of things, diba? Meaning that if you could easily transform yourself into that, na dati naman, di ka naman biker, dati runner ka lang, biglang nag-biking ka na rin, dati rapper ka lang, biglang naging ano ka na din, producer ka na din. Mga ganun bang bagay, the turn of the tides, di ba? We kind of have to map that down. Ako, lagi ko iniisip. Recently, to be honest, sa akin, ang iniisip ko, I've known myself as a musician ever since, or like an aspiring sort of creative sound guy. But now I kind of am interested in the intellectually what's happening around. Para bang, or wala bang point, di ba? Or wala bang point na maging parang act like matalino? Eh, matalino ako eh. Wala akong magagawa, di ba? So, I need to practice that para yung talino na yon hindi mawala sa akin, that I could be smart and explain that. Nakakita ko ng mga matatanda minsan, I get, ano kasi ako, Generation Y ata ako, millennial. I get impressed by how come these old people, they are into calls, diba? Calling. Yung act of talking to someone, maybe that's networking for them, whereas for millennials, networking is really so much more simpler. Could be simpler. Could be kind of like a game also. If you get what I mean and get my drift. Andiyan yung relaxation ko eh, just accepting how things are divided, diba? May divisions, kahit magkadikit, talagang magkatabi naman eh. Magkatabi naman, eto dito lang to, eto dito lang to. Hindi na to mag-aabot dyan, hindi na to aabot, hindi na to mag-aabot, diba? Yung bagay na to, maybe. Parang, kumbaga, ang sinasabi ko, let's find ways. I think I have to find ways. I have found ways, to discuss things and talk to people or share with people exciting new ways to talk about things. Because I've grown up, I've grown up na hindi na ako yung parang tipong bata na nanglalandi lang. Diba? Yung parang pag wala kang malandi na babae, ang nilalandi mo yung kapatid mong lalaki or yung classmate mong lalaki na nilalandi mo. Next thing you know, 3 years mong kakaganon, natuwa ka na, nawili ka sa kakaganon, bading ka na pala, which is just fine, okay lang, diba? Pero ano ba yun? Pinlano mo ba yun, diba? Pinlano mo bang maging bading? Talagang nalaman mo na, sige, ganito na lang ako, nag-work naman for me, diba? Nababayaran naman ako eh, diba? Tawag doon, pagpuputa ng identity, pagpuputa ng sarili. So sometimes, what I'm really trying to say is like the red pill ba of like a lot of people, they realize they didn't plan for what they are. Diba? Wala yung volition hindi na naabot yung parang sariling sikap ba na maging individualized. Ang naging sariling sikap nila is to be part of a group, part of be able to see themselves as part of a squad. Whereas I'm just pointing out that there are some people who are so individualized naman, they could pay for someone. Unlike me, though, I'm doing this, I'm filming myself. They could pay for someone to film them or film their passion, right? They're so individualized that they could buy their way into doing what they want. Ano bang Tagalog nun? Ano bang Tagalog nung ganun, diba? Why is it so easy for me to say it in English? Is it because I've entered type 1 civilization way of thinking? Is it because that I have learned so much na hindi na ulit-ulit yung sinasabi ko? Ang ganda nga yun eh, diba? Ang ganda nga yun eh, diba? That I'm always progressing in some way into the future. And one of the biggest benefits of this, pag natutunan mo na to gawin sa sarili mo, kaya sabi mo, you're saying, nagagawa ko yan eh, diba? I know someone, kuya na kuya ko, ganyan din mag-isip or parang, diba? And, diba, it's nice to report on it, diba? It's nice to report on efficiency because it's one of the tenets of tech, diba? How do you make things easier? Puta, gagawa ka pa ng bagay na magpapahirap sa sarili mo. I mean, sa pag-iisip pwede, pero sa daily life, kung sinet-up ko to dito na tong setup na to hanggang forever na yung ganyan, diba? Which makes me sort of load up the possibility na, yeah, sige, gagawin ko to forever, diba? Is it nice? Could I grow it? Is it something that could make me more? Could it make me rich? Could it? These are the things that I ask about myself. Could it make me any richer? Does it really matter that if I get any richer, it will be of do I become happier? This is one of the things na study na, and I've heard a lot in podcasts, na if you're in a certain comfort level, a 15% bump in your income, for example, doesn't make you any happier. Diba? Kumbaga, kung sumisweldo ka na, let's say, sumisweldo ka na ng 5 pesos per minute. Diba? Tapos komportable ka na doon. That's the key word there. Komportable ka na doon. Kumikento ka. Isipin mo yung sumisweldo ka ng 5 pesos per minute. Isipin mo yun, ha. Tapos biglang napataas mo ng 5.5 pesos per minute yung kita mo. Malaki yun. Malaki yun. But they found out that yung porsyento na yun, because you are already komportable, maginhawa na yung buhay mo eh. Kahit lumaki pa yung porsyento na yun na improve on your income, for example, scientists found out that it doesn't really affect your happiness that much. So, it's a question of what makes us happy, what makes us go on, diba? What makes us, my answer to that is content creation. My personal answer to that is content creation. And which is why I encourage a lot of people, and I really encourage even myself to keep on creating, no matter how hard things get, no matter how easy things get, or kung gaano ka pa nakakabaliw yan, yung 'di ba parang kumaga sa mga radio speakers. Mas madali nga sa DJ eh. Sa DJ kasi daldal sila ng daldal sa DJ. Dumadaldal din naman yung mga DJ, diba? Yung mga number one DJ. Dadaldal sila. Sabay may music na pagkatapos. Sa podcast, mas mahirap. Especially in monologuing, mas mahirap because I have to find a way to play on to the next part, and bring myself there. If I can't, and bring myself there. If I can't bring myself there, it's like I pause a bit. I really have to think about it. I really have to know, am I doing word vomit or sabog-sabog or abstract? Or am I doing a stitching up, diba, of things? So, just to exemplify what I'm talking about transformation. I'm talking about how I think I am improving, diba? And I'm happy about it. I'm like getting better at it. Ang ginagawa kong iba sa buhay ko na iniisip ko lagi, aside from podcasting, is creating more art. I create music on the side, I create, I'm in touch with people like programmers, one or two. Diba, every once in a while, trading information na, dito yung trip ko, I have this new project, like my classmates, syempre, is, for example, teaching. Usually, ganun naman eh. May mga teachers ako na classmate. And then, they're really exploring an unknown sort of territory. Diba? Malalaman mo yan pag bata ka pa eh. Parang, I'm just part of this bubble because I'm a kid. Diba? Parang, ito lang pala yung the show, diba? The Yes Yes Show, kumbaga. Yung tinuturo ng parokya ni Edgar, the Yes Yes Show. Part lang pala ako ng the Yes Yes Show. Ang dali lang pala nito eh. Kailangan lang agreeable ako. Yes yes lang ako. Kahit nahihirapan ako, may sweldo ka naman eh. Diba? Bata ka pa, may sweldo ka naman. Diba? Mga kakain ka naman, meron ka naman, diba? Masaya na yun, bata ka pa naman eh. Diba? Tapos lolokohin ka ng mga diba? Parang, okay lang yan, bata ka pa naman. Tapos okay lang yan, bata pa rin naman yung nanay mo eh, diba? Parang ganyan. Okay lang yan. And mapapaisip ka, I am part of a system, right? You are part of a bubble. Parang, what is the aspect of this bubble then that is limiting my mind from seeing what's beyond? Ano yung aspeto? Mga walls. Ano yung mga nagsasalita na sinasabi niya, ito, harang ako dito. I'm a trap. Trap ako, pwede mo i-test. Ilang minutes. Yung iba, they take their whole lifetime not getting. Diba? Yung sasabi ko, di nila gets. Diba? They take their whole lifetime not getting the speed of sound, the speed of light. what it creates, how science is valuable. If science isn't valuable, then you're a chimp. You're an unggoy. But, already, sasabi lang ng mga tao, okay lang yun. Kung unggoy ka, okay lang yun. Diba? Okay lang yun. May fire naman eh. Meron naman tubig. Nakakaligo ka naman, mabango ka naman, diba? So, sa language natin, okay lang. Diba? Merong kahuhulugan, diba? Yi cheshiwu zongli. Lahat ng bagay ng huhulog. So we fall into place, we fall into order. Yi cheshiwu zongli. We kind of like realize, dito lang yung hulma. May hulma pa nga minsan, may mold, right? Ito dito to mahuhulog. And people have discovered that through culture, that some things, whether it be the material of wood, marble, metal, paint, plastic, may use para dyan. And parami the multiplicity of uses, the processes na, ito ginagawa dyan, paano ba? We have to be able to think like that in order to reach sort of first principles thinking. Na, because that's what we use to solve, diba? That's what we use to solve. Hindi mo masasolve yung problema ng pamilya mo if you don't first get to the core of it. If you don't, for example, nung nag-aaway kami sa pamilya, it's kaya pala because we are studying different religions. Literal. Wala namang, no offense, diba? If I was studying Buddhism, if I was studying Buddhism, if I was studying the life of Gautama, the Buddha, diba? Sorry na lang kung naintindihan ko yung meditativeness and power of being kind and loving and like just breathing my way in through life and like being enlightened and feeling good about being enlightened. Diba? Parang, I feel so good. I'm so enlightened. You're a zombie. You're not woke. I feel so good. I'm not gonna mix myself with you. Diba? Tapos magkakasakit ako, diba? Diba? Parang mga ganun yung takbo ng buhay, diba? Parang, and also humor, diba? Parang, Buddhist ka tapos nagkasakit ka naman, nagka-STD ka. Diba? Kaka-Buddhist mo, masyado ka namang median. Masyado kang median yung parang middle point lang. You got the rationale of the middle point. And upon getting the rationale of the middle point, na-realize mo na gusto mo naman pala mag-extreme. Diba? So wala namang extreme Buddhism eh. Bawal nga rin sa Buddhism. Naging extreme na Buddhism. So iba, ginagawa nila, nagtuturo sila ng Buddhism, pero Kristiyano sila, nagbabasa sila ng Bible. Diba? I've seen people who are like that. They study the Bible but teach the lifestyle of Buddhism, teach the culture. Ang culture nila, iba-iba kasi yan eh. Culture, identity, work. These are things that we can list down that you could wanna be able to talk about as you grow up. Because there are people who kind of are like keen on, ito na, usapang work na guys. What has been your work? What has been your work? Did you enjoy your work for 2 years? What has been the worth of your work? Did it create like substantial financial prowess for you, for your mom, or is it like meron bang tao dyan na may sakit na talagang, alam mo yung dead horse analogy, parang pinapakain mo, ginagamot mo, tinuturuan mo, pero patay pa rin eh, diba? At the end of the day, patay na yun eh, diba? Parang naisip mo ba yun? Sana naisip natin. And I hope, my hope is like that balance lang. That balance will create like an avenue for us to talk about, to communicate things properly. Or kung bata ka pa, kasi bata pa rin naman ako, na we keep the knowledge, we put it in the books. Hey guys, this is Rez. I want to invite you formally to a group. It's called Rezbt-S Podcast Hub. Search Search for it on Facebook and join anytime.
In the town where I was born, the time is slow and the government is filthy. And the people's sense of music sucked. It's because they thought what other people did was always better and healthy. They never really cared much for what was new and what was savvy. They only tried to love what they themselves can copy.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Rez Toledo. You are listening to the Rezbt-S Podcast. In this third segment of my monologic series, let's review. I have been just listing down. Nakatakot siguro for some people, diba? Parang yung mga hindi ako kilala, parang, ba't siya tumatawa? Oh, shit. Diba, that paranoia sometimes, we play around as kids, we play around with that paranoia na parang, it must mean something. Ba't siya nakatawa? What's coming? Oh no, what is, alam mo yun, yung adult way of doing that these days is like, oh no, there's a new strain. There's a new strain of sipon. Kawawa naman yung mga nakaka-cancel out na naapektuhan ng pandemya. And I don't mean this in a sarcastic way. It's just I find it funny. Because I am young and I'm like, I could be morbid about it and I could, laugh about it. Pero deep inside, it's so scary. It's so scary. 0.05% of people die from it. And then, nire-report nila kahit yung mga nahulog sa bike, COVID na din. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that stuff because like, it's so scary. Tawa mo na lang, Biogesic, tas Yossi konti. Tapos, problema mo, diba? Problema mo, yung gobyerno. I crack myself up like this because I like doing that part of the monologue. I like reserving this part for my show, I mean, I can't put on a show on text. Who does that? Alam mo yung pag ganadong-ganado ka na may nililigawan ka or may bago kang friend, gusto mo siya impress. So, alam mo yun, binabaril mo ng pagkaramaraming, uy, dami kong alam na vocabulary. Nag-aaral ako sa Ateneo. Nag-aaral ako sa magandang school, prestigious, may privilege akong nalalaman, Ito. Pero alam mo yun, at the end of the day, yung ka-text mo naman, alam mo yun, nasa sari-sari store lang, wink-wink, or like, tambay lang, or ganito lang pala, alam mo yun, nakagano'n lang pala sa kama. I'm saying it's just pretty fun to like, it's pretty fun that I'm starting to appreciate that this podcast is becoming more about, alam mo yun, may nadadagdag na, diba, na it's becoming more about proficiency, being confident about things, transformation, improvements of it's not self-help because like wala naman akong I don't think I'm trying to make anyone feel better. In fact, I think I'm trying to make myself feel bad about my work because talaga forever mo gagawin yan. Talaga lang, diba? Parang ganun, diba? And it's the mood really that a lot of people talk about these days and how you formulate better words, better ways of exploring how you talk about it. You could use a lot of tools to use that. You could use a timer, you could use a watch, you could use your routine, you could use food, diba? Program yourself to eat the right food, right amount of food. Tangina, wala kang kung busog ka pa, Tapos podcast ka ng podcast, busog ka. Nagre-recording ka, busog ka. Mapapa-burp ka ng mapapa-burp ata, diba? Parang kailangan ata very, just like in lesson plans, minsan may icebreaker activity. There's a mood to it. There's like a part na parang, ayoko yung part na to, walang kwenta to, diba? Parang ganun. And that's part of it, all actors, all teachers, all agents are now getting into comedy because comedy is a nice way to keep things light when there's darkness in the world. There's like the, whenever I see, sorry, that's a different song. Boys and girls, pang Pasko pala yun. Pero like, you know what I mean? Heal the world, make it a better place. Yun ba yun sasabi ko? No. That's not a song in my head. Basta maraming, alam mo yun, what if God was one of us? Parang, alam mo yun, maraming part ng mundo na we choose to not see. Diba? We choose to sort of, when we are correcting our ways, and sabi mo, di ba, wala na ako sa wala na ako sa bentahan ng katawan. Wala na ako sa bentahan ng laman. Right? Di na ako ganyan eh. Ang pagtingin ko na sa bawat tao ay like, I search their hearts and their feelings and their words. I'm not all about, tumatanda na ako. I'm not all about freaking like, mas maganda yung damit ko sa'yo eh. Mas kasya ko magkasya ko na skinny jeans eh, di ba? Pag nung bata pa ako, ganun dati. Yung ibang tao, may insecure sa'yo, magugulat sa ibang tao na, uy, nakakapagsuot ka na ng skinny jeans, you must be a rock star, right? Ako, kailan pa ako makakapagsuot ng skinny jeans or like, I'm not nakikiuso eh. So like, dito lang ako sa cargo shorts, ganyan. You realize, pag matanda ka na, pwede naman pala kahit ano, diba? There's no rules. There's no, especially pag walang pumipigil sa'yo, tuloy-tuloy ka lang. Hindi yung mag-iimbento ka ng sarili mong pipigilan mo sarili mo. That's self-sabotage. Self-sabotage yung parang hindi naman yun pagtitimpe eh, pagpipigil eh. It's really like, pag self-sabotage is really like, sobrang na-bored ka na sa sarili mo, pinagtawanan mo na sarili mo, diba? If it's effective, then it's fine. Or like, if you want to use it to create drama in your life and like, you break your own heart, you break up with what you hold dearly, or may ginagalit ka. Minsan, ganyan yung nanay ko sa akin eh. Parang, alam mo yun, kung di ako bagong ligo sa harap niya, mali na agad ako. Eh, hindi ko naman nireklamo kasi sanay na ako sa ganun, diba? Yung parang, wala ka pang ginagawa, mali ka na, galing, diba? Ganun ang Asian moms, right? So, anak lang naman ako, diba? Anak lang naman ako. But not in here, in my show. In my show, I get to rant about that. I get to experience the love that is na hidden doon, diba? Kasi hindi na ako resentful, hindi na ako sort of, wala na akong budhi ng parang, because I'm so rewarded. I feel like so rewarded that at the end of the day, I have a positive way to express myself. There's like a way to, to sort of lean back and like, and think about what I've been doing and like, and believe in myself because makita mo naman that's the general mood, I'm not like the KSP type of person na parang pag masaya na yung mga tao, gusto na naman yun? That's the trap with being an agent of truth. Maybe there's an agent of, kasi kunyari sabi mo alam mo yung totoo, diba? So sasabihin mo pag okay naman, you kind of break the silence. There's a I think, what I've learned recently is may panahon para dun. May panahon para maging aktivista, may panahon para maging mangangawit, kantatero. May panahon para just to teach easy math and just be nice about things. I don't know what I'm saying really, but like, if you're listening, diba, it's really that song even, panapanahon ng pagkakataon. So there's always an opportunity to be nice, to be kind, to be like, to exercise language, to exercise English, para makapagsalita ng maayos, diba? If you wanna impress your boss, for example, ganito kasi yung, and ang hirap na practicein nan sa totoo lang, mahirap yung practicein if you're like not part of kaya nga mas maganda isipin na a podcast space is like an open thing, 'di ba? You bring the content to your 'di ba sila yung concept ba na if you're doing something right and it's of value to someone, sila yung lalapit sa iyo eh. 'Di ba? Ako naman, sobrang nililito ko pala yung sarili ko. Ba't ako nilalapitan ng mga taong ganito, 'di ba? Yeah, because I'm providing new technology and providing new ways of expressing yourself. Maybe you haven't found maybe I haven't found, to be honest, if I'm just talking about me again, I haven't found anyone who can do it like how I do it, 'di ba? And I wish there's a different version of me. Parang gano'n na nga iniisip ko eh. I can totally see where it's going, like what I said in the previous podcast. I can totally see where it's going. So, ikaw naman, okay. Okay lang. I mean, okay lang. And sometimes it's just, alam mo yung combo, parang kumbaga sa Starbucks stickers. May sticker ka dyan, i-note down mo yan. Pak, 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 pak. After a year or so, if it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't take a year. Pagkalaon, dumami na. Tumubo na. And it's nice. You could brag about that. And I had learned in hip hop, there's a thing called braggadocio, braggadocio. Like, turo sa akin ni Nino na, sometimes wordsmithing is just pagyayabang. It's not spit. It's not stage masturbation. It's not, depending on how you see it or not. It's really, if you want to pin it down, it's sometimes really, hey, it's because I'm like this. You're not like this. Right? You don't know anyone who's like this. Or if you do, let me know. Diba? Diba ganun lang naman yung parang, kaya nauso dating flip top, kaya nauso dati yung, alala ko, bata pa ako, nasa high school ako, tuwan-tuwa ako sa flip top. Tuwan-tuwa ako sa mga gumawa nun. And then later on, naging, ganun buhay ko eh. Parang, tuwan-tuwa ako sa isang taong nakita ko lang yung pangalan sa CD. Nakaprint yung pangalan doon kasi siya yung nag-produce pala nun. O di, ngayon na yung taong to is on that position. And then, as you work your way up, nakita mo, it's so easy for like in a small community to, lit ng mundo eh, it's a small world after all. Puta, ma-realize mo, yung dating mong pangalan lang na nakikita mo sa, what do you call that? Like in a print, on something, dati pangalan lang siya. Nakita mo, biglang, sorry about that. Kaharap mo na, nakakausap mo na, nakaka-trade mo na ng information, diba? And it happens to you multiple times, It has happened to me with my bosses. Nung bata ako, sila lang yung tinitingala ako. They're the hero. Ganyan. Tapos ngayon medyo tumatanda na ako, baliktad na yung role, diba? Baliktad na yung parang papel, aspect, diba? Or the status. So this reversal, you kind of have to think about, and when you can plan for that, diba? That vibe, then it's just part still of the game, diba? It's, pwede palang magbago yung, kumbaga pwede mag-change court, diba? Pwede palang, we were playing doubles, singles, lahat ng different configurations ng game, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, pwede palang mag-change court, diba? Oo nga, ganun pala laruin yung buhay. Ganun pala laruin yung, and babalik ko pa rin yan, it's not naman it's not marketing sort of the cheats. It's not marketing sort of all the kind of ways na pwede mong dayain yung understanding mo. Wag na doon. It's really how things fall under a current. Like how currents do it, sama-sama, dikit-dikit talaga yung tubig eh, diba? If causation of like, kung may nayanig dito, mababawasan yung part ng tubig dito, and then ma-realize mo, it's like, aabot ka dun, diba? Aabot ka dun sa, mag-aabot. In a way, na sinasabi ko, dikit-dikit yung mga bagay, diba? It's There's an invisible web that we don't see na pwedeng maging root of how we must perceive the world. We must see it that way, right? Na para may kabuluhan, 'di ba? Hindi yung as you become older, the more that you're dependent, 'di ba? Parang habang mas tumatanda ka, mas ano ka, mas lost ka or mas 'di ba? It's like that. I mean, it's like that really whenever we kind of communicate with anyone. Lahat ng bagay nanguhulog, may kahuhulugan, may parang for example, in my experience, a mic, 'di ba? When I was starting the podcast, I was getting criticized because I wasn't really using a mic. Iba daw yung mic ko, blah 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 ganyan. So, but it's just a mic, man. I mean, it's still black, but you realize, okay, there's this part, the thing that holds the mic, and then there's the mic itself, and then there's the monitoring side, diba? The thing that you use for the monitor. If it's visually, kunyari yung tao naman na aabot ng content na to, wala naman siyang paki sa ganun, hindi wala siyang paki sa ganun. Parang, bakit ko ba ipipilit na intindihin pa niya yung mga nitty-gritties, diba? If gusto lang naman niya makinig, makisali, maka-experience, okay na sa akin yun. I've given so many different types of experience, custom experiences, custom teaching to so many different types of people. This is the braggadocio part. The braggadocio part is like, the way that I am is I really, wow, yeah, and I will add to that, diba? Whatever you think you have, I could add to that. I'm that kind of a support guy. Diba? Parang kung ano yung di mo pa naisip, I can help you process that, diba? Where are you at? But it takes a lot of, where are you at with your journey? Where am I? Diba? Because I pressure other listeners for that or other, people who follow me for that because I'm also like that. Diba? If I can't apply it to myself, kung di ko talagang sinasabi sa sarili, kung di ako ganun sa sarili ko, hindi rin ako magiging ganun para sa iba. Or kung hindi ko napapahirap ng ganitong level, kung hindi ko nababali ng ganitong sa ganitong paraan, siguro hindi rin hahanapin ng iba yung ganitong bali. Because never nila malalaman na may value pala yun. Meron pala yung lugar. Meron palang welcome pala yun, welcome. Welcome pala yung, pwede pala yun pag-impart ng grocery. So kailangan mag-impart ka muna ng market, diba? That idea ba na whenever you're creating something, you want to create something and you want to put your name on it. You want to be able to say that I did this and in 2 or 3 years, I am part of this project. Kunyari, marami kayo, you're a team. So yung team building nyo is all about that, the leadership of saying, we said this about ourselves, this is what we call ourselves, this is your role, this is my role, we play the ganyan, there's synchronicity, there's like, and then, synchronicity, that's my language. Alam mo yun? Or like, ma-manifest natin tong 1 million, tapos paghahatian natin yung 1 million, diba? Tapos 10 kayo maghahati ng 1 million. Mga ganun, diba? Mga ganun project, diba? Small projects, big projects, it really depends. But my point is, isn't that what humans do, right? Already. Isn't that what humans do already? And as we prepare more of that way of understanding things, that maybe part of the boredom is we have already been doing that style. Maybe we have to get off from that modernity. Because that modernity has produced computers, has produced tech. It's easier than ever to create groups, ngayong umaga lang, may ginawa na naman bagong group yung kaibigan ko. I could do that every day, literally, if I'm just really evil about something, group, label, tapos work yourself. I don't want to farm people like that, But I'm giving you an idea of how to market, diba? Market to 5 people. So every day, create a group of 5 people, market to them. Kung isa doon convince, kausapin mo na yan, tawagan mo na yan. That's just the selling, diba? That's how you sell a pencil, how you sell a plan to someone. So do that. Once you've done that, yumaman ka, balik ka. Balik ka sa pagiging matalino. Balik ka sa pagiging yung nag-aaral, diba? Or like, nanonood ng movies, ganun lang, diba? Nanonood ka lang ng mangyayaring next. Nakikiramdam ka lang. Nakikibagay ka lang. You are seated, at the right place. Seated where you're meant to be. And sort of ravishing in that sort of feeling is like, yeah, you could say it's kind of gay, it's kind of pang babae, kind of prinsesa-like, Some people say that, some people some people naman, diba? Some people naman want it all. Some people naman gusto nila, di ako kontento na meron na akong girlfriend. Gusto ko yung girlfriend ko. Siya yung reason ko kung bakit ako pupunta sa gym. Diba? Sa gym, papalaki lang tayo ng muscles. Right? It's valid. It's also valid, the positivity that is created with that, there's so much multiplicity there. There's so much sort of daming pwedeng puntahan. So that's, the bandwidth of thought, the bandwidth of intellect. Could be digital. Dun pa lang sa pagka-iterate ko pa lang nung sequence na yun, pag nilista mo yun lahat, pwede mo nang, I use this mind node app pro, parang ganyan, mind something pro, which is a mind mapping app. It's, if you have ideas, if you wanna himay-himay, it's a digital whiteboard literally. So kung gusto mong gawin yung para sa sarili mo, lahat, kahit yung thoughts mo, kahit yung sarili mong content, pwede mo natin yun gawin. Kahit content ng iba, pwede ko yung gawin. Content kung luma na, pwede ko yung gawin. No rules, no fear. Right? Especially in creating what I love to create. I think that's where it applies the most. If we say we love to create this, if we love to create culture, if we love to socially, to be a social constructivist, because we're creating new sciences, diba? Every day we have a opportunity to add to that science, to that currency, right? To that love of like love of study, love of man, love of philo, love of knowledge. Every day we have like this opportunity nga, diba? May oras tumatakbo yung oras, so nag-add up. Every day we have that. The right mindset would be to be positive, be additive. Yun, diba? Kasi na mula sa kahapon na ganito yung pinag-uusapan natin, ngayon, umaga, naintindihan na, bukas, mas lalo ko po pang naintindihan, dapat lang. Because I had the luxury of like thinking about it and processing it in my mind and knowing how knowing how the mind really works now. Then I could share about it. I could record about it. I could like, diba? This is things that, nalalaman natin about because there's neurology na, diba, na, this is exactly what happens because neurons fire this way. Neurons actually develop this way, and it's called brain plasticity, right? So a life hack would be, that I've been learning recently, is to, from the Huberman podcast, check it out, is that we need a certain amount of time to create space in our minds using repetitive stuff, kayod, kahig, yung mga things na we could say na parang mali, paulit-ulit. So we only have to do it apparently for 30 to 40 minutes. So like, alam mo yun, kung ako nagkakamali ako sa maling character, maling drawing, maling words, maling, when I play my games, I die in the game, I make the wrong slash, ganyan, and I get hurt. So 30 to 40 minutes of that creates in our brain apparently good space parang to process or realign, and this is how neurons probably work, realign things so that kung ano yung apparently parang na-feel ko to recently kung ano yung naaral ko 2 3 days ago like in school, right, 2 3 days ago, sana matutunan ko na within the week para if I do get tested about it in the next week, in the next section, alam ko na. Alam ko na kung paano ko sasagutin. Alam ko na yung choices. So, this propensity to just be in that state, of like being gradable, being grade school, being high school, not as much loving your work, not as much super serious ka sa work. We should never take ourselves too seriously. Maybe we look serious already or we look, I tell that to myself because struggling with sort of different identities, different personalities, which I've limited to 3 to 6 safe personalities. When I change my mood like that, or when I change the way I speak like that, it's really I blame it on like growing up having to deal with different modes of being. Because, for example, the musician wants this, but then the art visualist wants this, but then also there's a part of me that's still young that kind of just wants to rant. Alam mo yun? So tatlo na yun, diba? Iba-iba yung agenda ng mga yun eh. Iba-iba yung trip nila. So I kind of have to step in to mitigate, to control. Plus I talk about it. I make sure that it's like even though I'm using the same voice, the same tools, maybe podcasts has been helping me a lot with that. I know that I could even make it easier, not like sort of go back to a time where I feel like I was fragmented into 10 different types of person. Right? That's too much. It's too much for me to handle na meron akong ugaling ganito pero sa ganitong classic tao lang. It's because when I was younger, I would literally interact on almost a daily basis, freaking 20 people at a time that I don't know, that they don't know me personally, or they have personally knew me through others and knew me just for the sake of knowing me or being able to use my name. Just for the sake of being able to, para machismis mo lang, diba? Siyempre, kilala yung, alam mo, may kilala yung tao sa harap mo, nakakapunta ka sa space nila, gusto mong may mauwi, gusto mong may mauwi kang bagay sa pamilya mo na ganito, kesyo kilala mo yung ganito, gusto mong naging part ka ng movement nito. Sa kwento ko, on my side of the coin, I have to switch between, the guy who just loves sports, the guy who just loves music, and the guy, and they're separate that way because iba-iba yung trip nila eh. May sarili-sarili silang agenda sa buhay. And I have to respect that because I also exist, Each individual consciousness is a thing that exists on its own. It could be incomplete. It could be, pwede na sabihin na ito, this guy loves talking about Nazi shit, right? This guy loves talking about like nasty stuff or like being mean or being mataas, you know? There's a balance to it though. The balance there is if you could speak the same language, if you could speak, and I think basically kaya nga namin finormulate yung base Tagalog is to be able to say that, okay, ganito na tayo lahat magsalita, right? Huwag na tayong makulit masyado. Huwag na tayong masyadong nanggugulo, diba? Guguloin. Tayo na lang magkaguluhan, right? And then we can create things this way, and we could say that, hey, look at us. Look at what we're doing with this format, this technology. Look at who's listening to you. Diba? Sino yung nanggagaya sa'yo? Diba? Bakit pag pinag-uusapan mo yung it na yan, yung multiplicity na yan, at pag pinag-uusapan mo yan, yung bata, ganyan pala yun. Yun. Right? Ganun lang pala yun, diba? It's not really just like that. Just like that. You have to learn a lot of things. You have to learn the basics of photography, the basics of writing. Marami kang kailangan gawin, diba? Marami kang kailangan alam gawin. And be able to prove it as well, diba? And full-heartedly, masabi mo, ito yung art niya. Ito yung ginagawa niya. Diyan siya proud, do. Di nyo ba nakita yan? Diba? Without the propensity for that, we can't appreciate artistry. We can't appreciate the people having, kung magkaanak ka na ganun, or alam mo yun, magka-girlfriend ka na ganun, na sobrang, she needs to prove her art because she doesn't want to work. She doesn't want to work in a space na mababastos lang siya and hindi nagagamit yung talino niya, diba? Na ginagawa lang siyang sex symbol. Ginagawa lang siyang sort of, alam mo yun, napapakiling lang siya na magturo ng feminismo. Hindi naman lahat ng babae gusto magturo ng feminism, diba? Ibang babae gusto nila, matalino ka na. So, pabayaan mo sila, diba? Pabayaan mo sila gawin yung, gawin yung trip nila. Kaya yan tuloy, yung nangyayari is napapakiling sila dun sa mga mas marurunong. And now, dahil mas napapakiling sila dun sa mas marurunong, nawawala na yung ayaw na nila sa iba. Parang ganun. Naintindihan mo ba yan? Ayaw na sila iba. Wala na, nilock na yung sarili na sa'yo. Hanggang dito na lang. Diba? Ba't pa sila, diba yung logic ba na, ba't pa ako maghahanap ng iba? Alam ko na yung totoo eh. Hindi na ako, dito, mas madali kaming hindi nagkakamali. Because, there's a system, there's like a way to enjoy things, there's a way to find it, the availability of such a culture, the relaxation of it, diba? Yung parang, nakaka-relax eh. Gusto ko yung ganito eh. Bakit ba? Gusto ko ganito namin pinag-uusapan yung thing namin eh. Thing namin to eh. Bakit kasama ka pa talaga dito? Di naman eh. Alam mo yan, yung ina-outs mo pa yung ibang bagay, ibang selves mo, diba? That's self-sabotage, right? That's highly a dangerous way to, I think that's a very dangerous way to live. These are very dangerous words to live by. Very dangerous times to know what you want, what you really want. When you know what you really want, hold on to it, diba? Parang ganun yun eh. Parang, kung di mo naman mapanghawakan, wala, it's gonna be, mas-steal yan sa'yo, diba? Something is gonna come in and be able to steal that from you. Then you realize, tama pala yung nabasa ko. Okay din pala yung maging tuso. Okay din pala yung minsan ginagamit ko yung humor pang shield dun sa mga BS na tinatry sa akin i-serve ng mga marketing na to, mga advertising na to, mga play na to na kala naman nila relevant pa rin sila. Wala na, diba? I run my own show. This is what is relevant for me. I have to feel that sort of, diba? I have to feel that sometimes, I think. That's the point. I have to be able to share that feeling with others. It's important to me. It's really like, and when you need it, you need it. When that person needs it, when the person needs to hear that, the feeling of being able to provide that for them, provide that for a loved one, provide that for a person in need. That's, I think, the stuff that is worth recording and talking about. I could go specific about it, but meron ka namang imagination, magaling ka naman eh. Diba? Thank you very much. My name is Rezbt-S. You're listening to the Monologic series of my Rezbt-S Podcast show. This is a show about the base Tagalog theory. So, kung saan ginagamit ko yung Shinto angular approach. The Shinto angular approach is like, a mental exercise of considering what is part of Shinto, natural, uh, uh, sort of animism, the way things are animated now. But the angle is that yung approach na pwede nating may pagtapat-tapat, 'di ba? And yung mga bagay, 'di ba? One is to one, so to speak. That approach is being applied to study the basic tropes of the world of the modern era, postmodern era even, in order to understand where the base Tagalog theory could come in. Diba? Din yung purpose ng sasabi ko monologic series. Dito papasok yan yung base Tagalog. Because I'm Tagalog. No? Because marami akong nakasalamuhang nagtatagalog and ginagamit nila to, and there's something there. May hiwaga, merong something, may profundity dun eh. Parang, especially with the usage of internet. Diba? That is the equation. That is the equation that I'm trying to go for and go at. And if you really appreciate this stuff, please do not hesitate to contact me via direct message or share it, like it, and keep it in the background as much as you can. Of course, you could also support the show by being part of the Rezbt-S Podcast Hub. It's just like a hub that I invite listeners and to sort of look at what I've been doing for the show and what sort of other content that I'm studying or like trip ko. But yeah, this is a usual thing. There's 2 episodes every week, and I hope to be able to see you in the groups. Again, thanks. Thanks for being part of this episode. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Rezbt-S Podcast out. Peace.